Sanbonan. Read the subtitles, people. Sanbonan. Shapuzet. Wuhandet. We're going to have to keep up with the lingo today because I'm going to be talking a lot of that. From what I've heard today is that a lot of the people that are here are the tech people. So I'm an inside person. I'm the guy who goes to a lot of the townships, a lot of rural areas, even sometimes in the suburbs, and just to basically share some information with them, if not to get a lot of information from them. So what our company actually does, what we do is just market research. And everything we do for all our clients is to look for an insight. And what is an insight? An insight is a game changer. So with a lot of the things I'm going to present to you today, I'm hoping that you will find maybe a certain unique insight that you probably will be the first time maybe you're hearing it. If it's not the first time that you're hearing it, it's most likely the first time you've ever heard it being said that way. To begin with, everybody talks a lot about stokvels, all right? But there's a new phenomena that are happening within the stokvels. We're finding that a lot of the new stokvels are being run by guys who probably are sitting here. They sit in good companies where they hold like a management position. So they're taking that skill and plugging it into a stokvel environment, thereby actually corporatized, making the stokvels a little bit more corporate. To date, the traditional stokvels still pay a lot of their money cash. A lot of money is collected. After it's collected, it goes to the bank. We're still waiting for someone actually to come up with a solution. But when you're looking at the new investment stokvels, what makes them different from your traditional stokvels to begin with is that those guys, they want their dividends in January, not December. Typically, you would say that in stokvels, you get the money in December so that you can pay a lot of the things that tend to happen in December, whereas a lot of these guys now are saying, no, we want our money in January. And also what they tend to do now, they're buying properties with the stokvel money as a group. They're buying a taxi, getting into the likes of Uber business as a taxi. So there's a lot of progressive movement that's happening within the stokvel environment that is no longer as traditional. And I think a lot of those guys are the guys that can actually relate to a lot of the tech language or some of the new things that you want to introduce, because I think the market is now ready. Other things that we've found is that a lot of the single moms are saying, I'm okay to be single. You find that a lot of the TV adverts or TV shows that you see, they're still portraying a lot of the nuclear family setup, whereas a lot of the women that we're speaking to now who are single moms are saying, I'm actually okay now with being a single mom. Now, some interesting stats. The single-parent household in South Africa is the biggest household in South Africa. It's bigger than the nuclear families. So if I'm a guy who have the skills that half of you have, but I don't have those skills, I'll probably start looking for apps in terms of how these guys can meet people, how these guys can actually make their life easier. Some of them, there's a thing called a taxi VIP card. I know that in Cape Town it's not that popular, but you find it a lot in KZN, in Gauteng, and Rustenburg. And what a taxi VIP card basically is like basically a business class for taxi. So as a passenger, I don't queue. I skip the queue. And that is how some of the businesses that do business with this target market have found ways to make their life easy. Because the reality for this woman is that she has 2 kids or 1, but this child has to go to school in the morning. So she cannot just leave at 6 o'clock when the school actually starts at 8. So she now buys a VIP card, and after she buys the VIP card, she knows that she can leave home at around 7:30, and she'll still skip the queue when she goes to the taxi rank. There's many other things that you find that this woman does, but it's just one of the things that I'd like you to start changing your mindset in that we have a more progressive market now in South Africa. And they have a lot of money. That's another thing. We also spoke to those who are in a higher income group, the single women who live in the suburbs. And when we ask them things like, so if you ever get married, is there anything different that you would do? They say things like, I will introduce a prenup before he introduces a prenup. Why? Because I want to protect my property. Those are some of the thinking that shows you the signs that things are changing. We find as well that a lot of the baby boomers, black baby boomers, are finding that they are now have to learn a lot of techno things because now being techno-savvy is considered a skill at work. Some of them, when they apply for jobs, they say that they're asked to use things like Instagram, social media, and the fact that they don't know how to use those things, they sometimes find that they're prejudiced in that they're not able to get that job. So we're finding that there's a lot of that the baby boomers, by all means, are trying to make sure that they're keeping up with the times. We're also finding that the black market is also becoming extremely very health conscious. The thing of the apps that people use in terms of being health conscious is a thing that you find amongst the millennials, the young guys who got your iPhones and your Samsungs of this world. But where the phenomenon is that you're finding that now things that you traditionally will get at a retail environment, and I'm talking about things like, as opposed to buying a Rama, they now want to buy Flora, because we want to be there now to achieve our dreams. So health conscious, tick that box. Now, let's start with the fun part now. The fun things that are happening when it comes to doing work in the black market, be it in the rural or the suburbs, always remember that black people don't have autumn. We only have 3 seasons. It's true, we don't have autumn. We don't know when autumn. It is, now we are learning that it's not, but really, because there's only winter, summer, and spring. And typically spring is only on one day, which is the 1st of September. Other things that we tend to find as well is that some other brands or businesses are not in the business. They're making a lot of money, but they don't know why they're making a lot of money in the townships or in the black market. Take, for example, something like Stape Dripples, Harmans. Do you know those things? Those Lennon products? They're used on babies. A child who just been born yesterday, and they're used to chase away bad spirits. But when you go to any shop, be it Pick and Pay or any chemist to go buy the stuff, it doesn't say anything about chasing bad spirits. Harmans and Stape Dripples are for diarrhea and heartburn, but we're using that stuff, all right? When you see a black man buying banana, macheo, peanuts, ne? Am I forgetting something else? Oh, and Red Bull. He's going to have sex. He's going to have sex. He's definitely going to have sex. But, so even with laptops, you find that we use laptops for different things. Some people will say they use it for CVs, but others are saying no, it's to make beats, it's to make music. Because when you go to some of these people's homes, never judge a book by its cover. Because on the outside, you may think, oh, it's poverty. When you go inside the house, you find things that you will not typically would find. And then there's things like kasi hampers. But there's a kasi hamper, again, depending on different industries that you represent, always ask yourself, from a consumer point of view, what do they consider to be their hampers? All right, obviously, for us, I guess the people in this room would be, you will not buy an iPad without a 3G dongle or some Wi-Fi. That's a hamper, Whereas in the townships, the Pakistanis in their spaza shops, they will sell bread, glenrake, cooking oil. Keep calling it the black way with this fish oil. Cooking oil, maize, and that's a hamper because they know that the market is going to be able to use these things throughout the day. Maize, I can make porridge and I can make pap later. Glenrake I can use as lunch or for dinner. So always try to understand what is the hampers within the market. Gas stations, most of the time you find that they have things like Friday night hampers. A Friday night hamper is made up of Red Bull, condoms, and so I keep picking up a lot of sex things. I don't know what's wrong with you. It must be the weather here. But it's condoms is steamer rod, yes, and steamer rods. And then color also means different things. In that, Coca-Cola still has a problem about the 1.25 bottle. If it's the one that is branded in white, the township market doesn't want it. They want the one that is branded in red. Why? They say The one that is branded red, it feels like it's Eno. When you drink it, you burp. But this one, it's light. You know? We had a client of ours in the motoring industry. They were bringing a new car that is an entry-level vehicle. They already ordered the cars. They were coming in South Africa. We then did the research. One of the things that we needed to find out what colors people prefer the cars in. They already ordered, most of their cars that they've ordered were in white color. The black market was like, I'm not buying a white color. We're like, why? It's like, people are going to think it's a company car. Small thing. You know, it's a small thing that you will overlook and say, but everything else is the same. But they're like, no, but people don't know it's my car. You know, an entry-level vehicle has to be a different color so people know that it's my car. And then always understand as well that we also have what we call the black calendar. The black calendar, like last week, one of our things at the Cape Town Jazz Festival, it forms part of the black calendar. And then there's Makufe in Bloemfontein, which is our black okie copy, you know. And there's other things that tend to happen within the year that fall into traditionally either be lifestyle or traditional things. I.e., in winter, typically it's when we do what we call tombstone unveiling, where we open not the grave, but the tombstone to celebrate the tombstone. But that tends to happen a lot in winter. And in December is typically when we do weddings. And there's other things that tend to happen throughout the year that you need to now get yourself more familiar. Because you don't want to be introducing something that's going to offend people or that's not going to work simply because the timing was wrong. And then first impression brands. I mean, we remember we all grew up in the era where every, every toothpaste is Colgate, right? But now, we're all thinking that has changed. I mean, which ADT do you have at your house? Isn't that how we all speak? Like, do you want a Samsung iPad? So it never changes. So in this market, people are constantly looking for new stuff. You know, so minus affordability and just solve a problem, and the market will go and buy into whatever it is that you're introducing. However, don't take it for granted that we have arrived also, because what you tend to find that there's a big lifestyle gap. You know, we moved from not having a house that has a swimming pool to buying a house from the Van der Merwes, and it has a swimming pool, an underfloor heater, also has gas. You know, we're scared of gas because the only thing we know about gas is action movies. It blows up, you know? So there is a gap. So sometimes you find that the ladies who go to Clicks to go buy the things that they buy, they see the electric blanket, they won't pick it up. Why? Because no one has actually told us about electric blanket, you know? You need a lot of white friends to tell you that you won't die if you piss on yourself or if you sweat. And those are our fears, you know? But you're not making it comfortable for us to talk about these things, you know? Just 5 things that I've seen come up in the past 15 years in business that I've picked up in research. That Soweto is not the only township, but there's a way to use Soweto to promote whatever initiative or thing that you want to introduce. But at the same time, understand that the townships are not all the same. A township on its own, and I don't know how many of you have been either to Umlazi or Soweto. I'm not going to pick this site because the segment is a bit odd. But typically what you find is that in a big township, you have one side of it is an underdeveloped side of the township. The other side of it is it's an emerging side of the township. And then the other side of it is an emerged side of the township. Now, the emerged side of the township, in it, you'll find people who are also can afford to live in the suburbs, but they choose to stay in the township by choice. Because obviously, 500,000 rent in the townships and 500,000 rent in the suburbs is not the same thing. You know, in the townships, 500,000 is probably $1 million. In the suburbs, with all the levies and all of that, think about 100,000 rent out of that. So you find that a lot of people then will stay in the township by choice. But some of the malls, when you go to them, take, for example, Some of the stores, when you walk out, they want to search you in the townships. Your ShopRites and all of them. They want to search you to see that you haven't stolen anything. But obviously someone who's a higher income bracket, who has a Lexus parked outside, and you want to search them, they take offense. So they rather start their car and go to the suburbs and go do their shopping there. But don't assume that the people in the townships are not looking, the emerged side of the township is also looking for fast ADSL. Because we're like, well, why must it only be available in the suburbs? But because most of the time when people go into the township, they spend a lot of the time in the underdeveloped side of the township. Then they paint the picture to say, oh, they're all like this. No, it's not that way. I mean, we know, because even when you drive as a black person into the township, you know which places you must wear a seatbelt, you know which places not to wear a seatbelt. We know it. We know that there's a place where we don't wear a seatbelt. Other things is that understand the difference between the top pocket and the bottom pocket, especially for your clients or the business that you're in. The black market always is the top and the bottom pocket, and usually the top pocket is made up of the essentials, but your essentials are not necessarily their essentials. I mean, they put things like funeral policies in the top pocket, things that you'll be blacklisted for in the top pocket, and then other things, they will sit there at the bottom pocket. Now, the trick is to always be in the top pocket. And how do you become in the top pocket? Value. You must offer this market value. If you're giving them value, they will put you in their top pocket. So, gray money, we stumble on it. What is gray money? Very quickly. Gray money is money that never sees the bank. It's legit money. It's not gangster money or anything. It's legit money. But it never sees the bank. Why doesn't it see the bank? The market is saying the bank is charging a lot of their money. The banks are for people who are working, not for people who are unemployed. Now, there's also a big question about what is employment, because there's what you call informal employment in a lot of these places, and people are making a lot of money in the informal employment. Take a taxi driver, for example. That's a person who is considered to be working in the informal market. Take the salons. They are considered to be working in an informal market. But what then has happened is, in the absence of the system recognizing that this is how money moves around in a township, people have created their own system of how money moves around. Be it that I want to move money from here to Lesotho, I'd rather go to a taxi driver, give him the money, and then the taxi driver will call somebody else in Lesotho or in Eastern Cape and say, there's a person here who has 500 rand, wants to give to a person X there. This is the ID number and everything. And instantly the person gets the money, and then they get their service fee. Because in the absence of the bank coming to the party, people have created their own system. So always, therefore, always remember that in the absence that you're not bringing a solution that's going to make their life easy, life will continue, and they will find a way and a system that works for them. So gray money, for example, informal employment, the guy who does your DSTV installation, you don't pay them after 30 days invoice, you pay them cash. The waiter, believe it or not, a traditional healer or sangoma, we pay them cash. You don't pay them through EFT or anything of that sort. That money must get blessed. But there's a lot of money there as well as the domestic workers and so forth. But the secondary income is what has been very interesting. Only thing freelancing applies only to the professionals. And the people who work as a mechanic at Mercedes-Benz or Toyota, that person cannot freelance. Those guys have a lot of freelance work in the townships. So what they do is 9 to 5 during the week, they will work as a mechanic for whatever company they work for. But in this case, I'll just use Mercedes-Benz just as an example. And then on weekends, they are fixing a Mercedes-Benz that is out of motor plan. But the customer buys everything. The only thing they charge is labor, and it comes cash. So when you go to their house and you ask them, so how much money does this family actually have, or do you guys get it every month? They only account the money that they get from the pay slip. They don't account the money that comes informally, which is how, when you look at the furniture, it doesn't match the income. It doesn't match the income. So all of that there, it becomes the way how other people get those things. I've run out of time, but I need to be quick. Another thing that was a talk of town is what we call black tax. Black tax is, after I get paid, maybe your money goes straight to you and 100% of it, 10% of mine, after SARS has taken their bit, another 10% goes towards my relative on a month-to-month basis. Now the question is, how is that money moving around? That money is not moving through the bank. I'm not depositing that money because the receiver is saying, don't put that money in the bank because I'm not going to get a cent of it. I want that money to come to me cash. So I'll either e-wallet it via FNB or any of the mobile money platforms, or I'll go to check out the news money market, or I'll use the post office. Those are the things that the guys are saying they use. And by all means, they're avoiding the formal way of getting the money to the people. There's a lot of other things I wanted to talk about here today, but that is pretty much how gray money actually is moving around. I'll end it here because I'm getting signs that I need to stop. Thank you.